So you start by just being a filmer on the road, right? Making videos, and then you talk them into live streaming. You guys start live streaming. You start upgrading. Like, what's fill me in between the garage band days and and now where you are with Kill Tony and like how do you like what is that path?
Well, when the podcast started becoming really popular, then the first 100 or so episodes, it was just in Joe's office. There was times where we were talking. I remember one in particular because it was Kevin Smith. It was the day after I got mugged, with a gun and everything.
Day after you got robbed?
Yeah, I got mugged
Wow.
and everything.
Wow. In L.A.?
In L.A., like gun to the chest, get in your car, execution style.
Wow. No way.
My girlfriend was drunk and not listening to the guy, and I thought he was just going to shoot me and shit like that. It was
shit.
I mean, I had PTSD for a long time after that. But
that sounds
the day
gnarly.
after, it was like Kevin Smith, and that's the only reason I remember this, but I remember there was a part where we didn't talk about it during the podcast, but then halfway through, Joe had to take a shit. So he literally goes, "I'm gonna take a shit," and the bathroom was right here. You could hear him like pissing and shit on the podcast, and Kevin's just sitting there like, "Hey, what's up, Brian?" And I go, "Man, I got robbed last." And so that's when I told him about it, but it went from that environment to like Joe Finer's like, I don't want people coming to my house anymore. We used to do it at my house a couple times. And then Joe Finer's like, I got a studio, like a proper studio. And then I started a podcast network called Deathsquad because the show was doing so good, and all our friends like Tom Segura and Ari Shaffir and stuff, I was like, man, you guys should do podcasts. Joe doesn't have to do radio anymore. When he's on the road doing shows, usually you have to go to a radio station the day before and like advertise. I'm at the Funny Bone.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to do that anymore. This podcast is doing all the promotion and it's free. And so I decided to start a podcast network so I could help all my friends out. So
That's so dope.
I started one for Ari Shaffir, which was the Skeptic Tank. Tom Segura did Your Mom's House, and did. Just Brody Stevens, Little Esther, Sam Tripoli, Brian Callen. I just started making. I was doing at one point 11 podcasts by myself. I didn't have. I didn't have employees. I didn't have any employees. I did all the editing. I did.
Wow.
I would sit
And
there.
before the AI would auto correct and all that kind of.
Oh yeah. This was before. I would actually sit there and like if we were doing a podcast and I had one hand over here on my video switcher like. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, camera 4,
Wow.
while talking. And I was just so used to like, all right, so this is you talking. So if you start talking, I know to hit this button. I wasn't even like, I was just doing it all.
Wow.
Insane, dude.
It was crazy. And then
That's how your timing is so good now, right?
yeah, well, I guess. But so I started the studio at my house. So like if you look at Your Mom's House episode number 1, they're in my living room sitting on my couch, my dirty ass fucking couch. And there's cats in the background like walking around. But and I did that for like a year. We filmed some JREs there. But I remember we had Andy Dick once, and I think it was a JRE. And Andy Dick, like every 15 minutes, would excuse himself and go to the bathroom. I think he was doing something.
He had a lot of Mexican food.
Yeah, yes, that's it. And after that, I was like, man, now I feel what Joe was feeling. I don't want people at my house anymore.
Felt a little.
Yeah, so I opened up my own studio at the Ice House in Pasadena. It's a comedy club. And that's where I started doing all my podcasts there. And then I was doing JRE. And then, I'd leave JRE, go home, edit JRE, put it up, and then I would go to the studio, record like 3 podcasts, go home, edit, put it up.
Holy hell.
And I was paying for it all myself. We didn't have any sponsors at all. Back then, there was no sponsors. I was literally taking my paycheck from Joe, spending it on Deathsquad Studios, and pretty much funding all this podcast for free.
Yeah.
And editing it all, and because I didn't have a staff or anything, it was just pretty much the rent and then buying new cameras and gear once in a while. And I did that for maybe 8 years,
Wow.
9 years.
Wow.
What was driving you to do all that? You know what I mean?
Really, it started off just wanting to help everybody. I helped my friends because I knew how to do it. And
that's
no one
fucking
knew
awesome.
how to do podcasting, maybe a couple people, but like, I just wanted to help them. And then it became kind of fun because it was like a lot of these podcasts, getting to meet all the people that were guests and stuff, that would come to my studio. And I also connected, because it was at the Ice House, I started doing comedy shows. And so a lot of the podcasts were like, hey, come over, let's do a podcast. And afterwards, let's do some stand-up comedy. It was all in the same building.
So that's how you got into stand. Were you a stand-up before?
Yeah, I was a stand-up in Ohio. I started before Joe even hired me.
Okay.
And I did a few times. And then I quit for about a couple of years. And then Joe got me back into it one day. He's just like, Brian, when's the last time you did stand-up? I'm like, 3 years ago. And he goes, do you have any of your jokes still? And I'm like, yeah, I have in my phone. He's like, well, I want you to open up the show. And
he's like, good, you're on in 10.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's some Joe shit to do.
Throw you up.
Then he started doing that all the time. He would make me follow Joey Diaz, like put me in the middle, which is crazy. And I did that for a long time. I was just on the road opening for Joe and filming Joe and doing that on the side. But yeah, then after a while, I was so burnt out from doing all these podcasts. I mean, I was doing so many podcasts. I did 8 Slept podcasts,
but that's how you build something.
Right.
You can't do it part-time.
Right. But I should have hired people though. Like that was my mistake. But there was no money. That's the problem.
Because you just kept throwing it right back in.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a market.
There wasn't a market. There wasn't even YouTube. Like you couldn't have any video over like 15 minutes on YouTube for a while. Like the long video format, that's actually came way later in YouTube. And then once that came out, they didn't have like AdSense or any of that yet put together. So it would literally, that I couldn't get employees. If I had all that income during that time, oh God, it would be a different fucking story. But so I decided to cut back on all my podcasts. And that's when I started Kill Tony with Tony. I was like, you know what? I just want to focus my energy on 1 or 2 podcasts. And so I dropped all my podcasts except Kill Tony. And I think I did like 2 others, but they were my podcasts.